Hola, estamos en las oficinas de la fundación de Jeffrey Deskovic. Estamos por hablar con Kian. Kian, tu apellido, your last name?
Kathibi, Kian Kathibi.
Kian Kathibi, que es una persona que logró demostrar su inocencia sin contar con prueba de ADN que lograra ayudar a su liberación de una causa criminal, y además Kian logró su inocencia escribiendo su propia petición al juez que entendió en su causa. Buen día, Kian. Good morning. Well, Kian, I just introduced who you are, what happened to you, and how you could get your release from jail. I also said that you wrote your own petition to the judge. Could you explain us in a very short way what happened to you, why were you incarcerated, and how you got your release, please?
Well, in 1999, outside of a college bar in Westchester County, New York, two people were stabbed. They were drinking, so they didn't remember who stabbed them. And it turns out that the police immediately they thought it was me. It wasn't me. I was arrested. We had a trial. The longer the trial went on, the further stages we went to, the people, they started just changing their stories now as a team to make it look like it was me, because they were now convinced of my guilt, which was not true from the beginning. But now it was so powerful. The machine that they built was so powerful. There was nothing I could do about it. And they won the trial, and I was convicted for something I didn't do at 22 years old. And I was a college student at that time, and I went from college to prison for 10 years. Along that time, I have 5 brothers and sisters from my parents. One of my brothers, he turned into, he used to drink a lot and do drugs, and he got worse and worse as we became teenagers and young adults, and he committed the crime, not me, and that's part of the reason why I maybe was associated as the person who did it. In 2008, my family was at a Thanksgiving dinner together. I was in prison, and my dad mentioned me. He wishes I was there, and my brother was at the table, and I guess he felt overwhelmed by the pressure after these years of this and that, and he broke down. He cried, and he told my dad. He said, Kian didn't do it. Mi hermano didn't do it. I did it, and that's what started the process for my release. We had to compare that confession to the facts of the case with the district attorney and with the judge, and now everything started to make sense. All the facts started to make sense. Oh, clearly I didn't do it. Clearly it was my brother, and then I was released.
Le voy a preguntar ahora a Kian si la principal razón de su encarcelamiento fue la identificación visual de un testigo inadecuada. Kian, so the main reason why you were convicted was a flawed eyewitness identification?
Yes. Yeah, when you say flawed, though, at the same time, we're dealing with changing stories. We're talking about made-up memories, lies, or just people believing things that they hear, and then they begin to believe it themselves as something that's true, because they didn't have a good memory themselves of the events. And these things then become harder and harder to prove as the stages of a trial go on. Harder and harder for me to prove that it was false. And that's why I was convicted. That's how the misidentification came to convict me.
¿Cuántos años recibiste en tu sentencia judicial? How many years you were convicted to pass in jail?
I was convicted, I was sentenced to 14 years. And I had a break from the judge because he could have sentenced me up to 25.
What was the crime? ¿Qué delito se había cometido?
Assault in the first degree and criminal possession of a dangerous instrument for using a knife.
Bien. Kia, now le voy a preguntar si él está en juicio y si el Estado de Nueva York le hizo algún ofrecimiento para arreglar la cuestión. Now, Kia, are you on trial, and did you get any offer from the New York State in order to make some kind of agreement before going on trial?
No, I just finished a trial with the state for compensation for my time in prison. They didn't settle with me. I had to take them to trial. That's over with. I'll have to wait to hear what the judge says on that. That can take a long time, months. It's been 3 years since my release, and I still have some time to wait, I guess, because I have to wait for the judge. She'll have to decide what she wants to do.
Ah, bien. Pero también estás por demandarlo en las Cortes Federales para buscar alguna indemnización a través del juicio por jurados. Are you going to go on trial at federal courts in order to go to a jury trial too?
That I'm doing as well, for constitutional violations, civil rights violations. That won't happen for maybe till next year, as we prepare a case for that and all the facts come to light more.
Le voy a preguntar ahora si el Estado puede reducir las compensaciones que ha obtenido previamente. I have a question. Can the local state or the federal state reduce the amount of compensation they could give you because you are prepaid by one of those states in one of these two different trials?
Under certain circumstances in New York, yes. Yes. If there's a verdict after, and one it always one will reduce the other. Maybe not all the way, but that will be for a judge to decide after the fact.
Le voy a preguntar ahora aquí si es que el Estado está asegurado y además llama a la compañía de seguro para eventualmente que pague la indemnización. I have another important question according to what you said me before. Is the state of New York or the police, for example, do they have an insurance in order to call the insurance company to the trial so this company can pay for the damages?
Well, with the state, they have a fund that's set aside for claims against the state, and I believe particularly for unjust conviction. I'm sure they schedule in their accounting every year how much they think they'll have to pay for certain lawsuits, and that's set aside. I'm not sure if that's covered through insurance. I would assume it in some way or another it is. But with the federal case against the police, yes, they're required to be indemnified, which is basically an insurance would have to pay the damages. In most circumstances, insurance company would have to pay the damages against the police there, if and or when that comes about. In my case.
Tengo una última inquietud. Así te podés ir tranquilo. Hacer tus labores, y te agradezco el tiempo que te has tomado de escuchar y de conversar conmigo. Ahora vos estás trabajando en la fundación de Jeffrey para ayudar a que no ocurran cosas similares. Me gustaría que me expliques brevemente qué leyes se han aplicado o se han empezado a sancionar acá en Nueva York para evitar condenas erróneas.
Pero verdad.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Now, I have a last question to you, Kia. You are now studying at the law school and working at Jeffrey's Foundation.
Yes.
Could you explain me which laws have already been enacted here in New York in order to prevent wrongful conviction? Do you have idea?
Oh, to be honest with you, a few years ago we heard a lot of talk about these things going on. You know, it was a big issue. People introduced bills and this and that. I don't believe that there is anything effective. that's come about. Just it's been a lot of talk. Nobody really knows what to do, or if they do, no, it's simply not getting done at this point. Yeah.
Pero por ejemplo, se han sancionado leyes para preservar de manera grabada o filmada las declaraciones de testigos, se han sancionado leyes para compensar a las personas erróneamente encarceladas o alguna otra legislación. But do the state of New York have already sanctioned any law in order to record the eyewitness identification, the eyewitness depositions, or maybe they have already sanctioned laws to compensate wrongfully convicted people, or you have no idea?
Well, they have a law. New York State has and many other states, not all of them, but New York State has a program to compensate wrongfully convicted people, and that was the trial I was telling you about in the Court of Claims. That is specifically for unjust incarceration for people that were convicted. The state had waived their liability and they decided to assume responsibility. They called it at the time, years ago when they enacted it, their moral obligation to compensate for when this happens. Because the state is supposed to protect us, and if you know, based on the Constitution and our right to have a fair trial, and if they do us wrong, they decided to take care of us in that regard. As far as recording eyewitness identification, no, I mean, the courts ruled a long time ago that the Constitution does not require recording interviews, does not require all these things. It's just the minimal what's required for constitutional standards. The problem is, though, all the traditions that we know, why the Constitution doesn't require, why due process doesn't require recording these interviews and eyewitness identifications was all based on the legal theory and the state of mind 50 years ago, 100 years ago, before anyone knew. Before people believed that there was innocent people in jail. Nobody knew that then, because DNA had to come out and prove to the court system, which they swore nobody innocent was getting convicted. Had to prove, no, this shows people are getting convicted innocently. And after that, now we know what are we going to do about it? But they keep relying on the old rules of law that says the Constitution does not require recording of identifications. But now we know something different about our system. So I think all the old rules have to be reanalyzed in the new light. Now that we know innocent people are getting convicted, and that's my opinion. And I feel very strongly about it, obviously, and I'm sure there's many out there that do. You know, it's a new world, so it's time for a little bit of new thought on the idea as well.
Papi, después cuando te vayas, me puedes comprar. Es que me hace frío después.
Bueno, cállate.
Comprame un saco.
Bueno. Sorry, this will give the interview a more soft view. sorry, Kian.
No. Wonderful daughter you have there.
Thank you very much. Just a last question.
Sure.
Pero hay otras jurisdicciones en donde ya es obligatorio grabar las conversaciones, ¿no? But there are other jurisdictions, there are other states that are required to record every conversation, every interrogation.
Yeah, they're required to, but they're likely not based on constitutional standards. If the legislator gets together and passes laws for that, that's I think how those came about, and that's another way to mandate the police to do this. Either courts can rule. These need to be required in order to protect our system of justice under due process, or the legislator can get together and pass laws in each state mandating that the police force record these things. But there's a lot of problem with that, because every time this comes about, there's a big movement that the legislators who want to support that are just trying to be soft on criminals, or criminal friendly, or they're going against the police. They don't trust the police. But it's not about that. It's not about not trusting police or soft on criminals. It's about making our system work better, because it works better for everyone when it works the right way, convicting the guilty and letting the innocent people off, and making sure that the government does not violate people's rights. Government is there to protect us, and that's what we should believe in. That's the truth. Not blindly, but proactively, because we're all here. We're all a piece of it. You know, we all have something to do with that, and nobody should just be left like collateral damage. You know, it's easy to shake that off when you're in the legislature, you know, and you're looking for votes and stuff like that. But when it happens to one of their sons or daughters, then it's no longer collateral damage. You know, then the law gets passed. Fine. Well, you know, I'm one of the sons and daughters of New York. You know, and I might not be a legislative son or daughter, or either is Jeff. But you know, we're here and we're not collateral damage in any which way, you know, and we went out and we did good things with our life after getting our convictions reversed. We're contributing to society, you know, and we have some things to offer as well, and we hope that the issue picks up in coming years, because it's going to be better for everyone involved.
Well, thank you very much. I really admire the way you are dealing with your life after that unfair suffer you had to pass. Well, thank you very much for the chance to interview you, to spend some time speaking about your situation, and we'll be in touch. I want, if possible, that Jeffrey goes to Argentina, and if it's possible that he can take somebody, maybe you, maybe her friend there, because Argentina don't even care. These issues are not even important in the society, because they are, as I told Jeffrey, only poor people go to jail. Only poor people. I don't know of any rich guy in jail in Argentina.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Anytime, my pleasure.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Bueno, le agradecí la entrevista acá a Kia, y bueno, vamos a continuar después con Jeffrey. Gracias.